How we doing, guys? We're back here with another awesome guest. This is Joshua Karty, the newest kicker for the Los Angeles Rams. So I kind of just wanted to introduce him for you guys. He was the number one kicker in the entire nation in high school, according to multiple outlets, 24/7 Sports, Cole's Kicking, ESPN. He chose to attend the prestigious Stanford University, where you were a two-time first-team All-American, and then now drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, one of just three kickers drafted. So a very prestigious honor considering it's hard to get drafted as a special teams player. So yeah, Josh, how are you doing?
Doing well. Excited to be here too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. How's LA treating you so far? Is it what you thought it would be, or what is it so far?
Yeah. So came down from Stanford, about 5 hours north. It's still in California, so it's a lot the same, a lot similar stuff going on. I will say it's a little bit warmer down here, so that's pretty nice, and I'm loving it. I'm loving being in. We were in the Thousand Oaks area in LA, and then we're moving to Woodland Hills as we speak right now. We're changing
Wow.
practice facilities, so I've been in Calabasas area as well, and it's been great. Really pretty hills and stuff. You don't get that very much in North Carolina where I'm from.
So it's not as much of the like fake Hollywood, that type of lifestyle. You're more so noticing like the beautiful scenery and all that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in like, what I've learned is so LA is huge and there's like a bunch of little bubbles everywhere. And
Mm.
we're like, you know, in a couple of, the Thousand Oaks bubble area was where we were. And I don't think that's as much like the Hollywood or like, uh, I don't even know. I'm still learning about all the parts
Yeah,
of LA like every single day. But it's not like all the glamour and stuff like, right by the practice facilities. But, it
yeah,
depends where you go. So,
yeah,
altogether,
dude.
yeah, I'm still learning a lot about everything.
I bet. I mean, you're new there. Yeah. Dude, how cool is it getting drafted by an LA team when you spent your college years at Stanford? Was that the team that you wanted to be drafted by? Was it like either them or the Chargers?
Absolutely. So I wanted to be drafted by the Rams. As a kicker, I knew there was going to be about four or five teams that were interested in drafting a kicker, and out of those four or five teams, like my Rams were the top choice, no doubt. And I really wanted to stay in California. Part of that, really liked being in LA compared to some of the other options that were available, and you don't get to choose. So I was really happy when they chose me. But there's a reason a lot of players take their like summers off in Los Angeles and work out here and whatever because it's a great place to be. And I get to stay in California, not too far from college, which I've been up to Stanford a few times already, and you know the best place for me, good opportunity, and trying to make the most of it.
That's really cool. I love that. Yeah. What was your college experience like at Stanford? What are like a couple of your favorite memories that come to mind?
Yeah, it was a dream to be honest, and
I bet.
going into college didn't know exactly how things were going to go. I came in, I was gonna do 4 maybe 5 years depending on my redshirt year, and COVID hit. That was my freshman year of college, so it kind of threw everything around a little bit. And altogether, just really thankful for the people that I met and for the things I was able to accomplish on the field and in the classroom as well. But
Yeah.
super happy. My favorite memories, I guess, were just hanging around with my roommates. I was roommates with a bunch of football players, so like my senior year, we were in a we were in an 8-man suite. So I had 7 other football players that I was roommates with, and so you can probably imagine how that went. It was a lot of fun.
Probably really fun. Yeah.
Create a lot of memories and stuff, and they're my guys for life.
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. So you know, transition to the NFL. When you're a kid, typically a kid dreams about going to the NFL if you play football, but not necessarily as a kicker. So how did you like? When did that shift in your brain kind of happen? When you were like, I want to be an NFL kicker, and why?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't grow up playing football. I was a soccer guy.
Me
I
too.
was yeah, I was pretty much in like a no football household because my parents didn't want me to get like hurt and stuff like that. And I'm like the first person in my extended family ever to touch the football field, for that
Wow.
matter. But I started playing freshman year of high school, and really about sophomore year when I quit soccer. going into junior year. I was like, wow, like this football thing like seems legit. I'm gonna give it a good shot, and like that's when I really started thinking about the NFL.
So you
Yeah,
didn't start playing kicker until like your sophomore year of high school
freshman year, yeah, but I did
or
both
freshman year?
soccer and football for 2 years, and like
Okay, okay.
I would prioritize soccer. So I was going to 2 out of 4 football practices a week for like a third of the time each time. And I was like, even it was even to the point where there were a couple high school football games, freshman and sophomore year, where I showed up at halftime and hit the opening kickoff of the second half because
Wow.
I was coming from soccer practice.
That's crazy. And to think that you didn't really start until freshman year and you were dual sporting and somehow you were still the number one kicker in the nation. That's props to you, man. You might it's a good thing that you figured out like I'm really good at this and you finally transitioned to it.
Yeah, it was almost like it was my calling, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, dude. So what's been your biggest inspiration in life?
Yeah, it's definitely both my parents, my mom and dad. Even today, they in college, my mom made it to every single game that I played in, and my dad made it to every single game except for 2 that he couldn't get off from work. And so
Oh,
just
I bet.
having them fully supportive by my side every step of the way, it's just been a real blessing. And
Yeah.
really just fortunate to have both of them in my life to look up to and to teach me everything that I know about, life.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Um so, as far as kicking goes, do you have any weird pre-kick routines?
Well, first of all, hypothetically, if I did, I probably wouldn't tell them. But I have a
True.
couple of, routines. But like I would say, before every kick, I go and I drink like 2 sips of water real quick. Just because there's one time in high school that someone else was talking about their superstition about how they go out there and then like their mouth is all dry and they can't stop thinking about that. And then or sometimes they drink too much water and they're like really have to like I don't know. And so I was like, all right, cool. And this is like freshman Josh, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just like, you
Yeah.
know, do the same thing every time and keep it the same. I don't know, why not? So I say probably that one's probably my weirdest one.
Yeah. That's pretty normal. Just trying to stay in that like middle balance of hydration.
Yeah, it
Um
gives me something to do.
yeah, true. Get your mind off whatever you better have to do. Get the nerves out. Yeah, let's get into some hypotheticals. So I played soccer my whole life. I actually, funny enough, was probably one of the only kids that did want to be a kicker in the NFL when I was little. So I would always think like I'd watch these games, I'd think certain things, and one thing I always wondered was, what is the hardest environment to kick in? Is it heavy wind, heavy rain, or just snow in general?
So I actually have not played in a snow game ever, so I can't speak
Oh
on that.
wow.
I would assume it would be snow. Just if it's like a heavy snow and you're having to plow the field because it affects not only you but also the snapper and the holder you got to think about as well. And so just like the surface of like running and planting on snow would probably be more difficult. And then added on the fact that the ball doesn't travel as far in the extreme cold would make it pretty difficult too. So I'd probably say
Yeah.
the snow just based on
What
observation.
about based on your experiences? Is it harder to kick in the heavy wind or the heavy rain?
Wind over rain for sure. I would say
Okay.
heavy rain probably makes it harder for my snapper and holder. But heavy wind, because I really don't change much in my mindset, my technique, my like goals for the kick in heavy rain. Like it's just kind of pretty much the same, mindset for me. If it's heavy wind though, then that's where I'm starting to have to play my
Yeah.
kicks differently. And I guess
Exactly.
particularly the hardest conditions would be heavy variable wind. So if it's a heavy
Mm,
wind like 25 mile per hour constant the whole game and it doesn't change, you can live with that for sure. But if it's like 20 miles per hour and then it switches the other way 20 miles per hour and then switches back like randomly, that's when you can get into a little trouble. Like especially if it switches like mid kick, there's literally like nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily for you, LA has very fair weather, so
Yeah.
you shouldn't have to deal with that.
Yeah, and those are all, like, that happens, like, 1 in a million probably.
Yeah, exactly. One more hypothetical. What's more important during a kick? The placement of the laces by your holder or the quality of the snap by the long snapper?
I would say the placement of the laces. If you
Why?
have a like, they always say, like, a really great holder can make up for, like, an average snapper, so, like, if you have a snap that's bad, but you have a great holder who, gets it down, spun really, really quick, a lot of it can be made up for versus, like, the other way around. Um,
Yeah,
Because for me, it's the best like, obviously, great snap and great hold is the most ideal situation, but if you have a bad snap and then the holder, saves it, puts the laces good and everything, the lean good, the spot good, they can save a lot of the stuff. It's just gonna be a little bit slower, probably a couple tenths of a second, just because they would have to, like, catch it from a different spot as opposed to where they wanna catch
exactly.
it. But so that does affect it because the more time I'm able to see the ball on the ground before I kick it, the better. But the other part of your question is if the laces are, so if 12 o'clock is like for where you want the laces, like laces out, if the laces are pointed at like to a side, like 9 o'clock, something like that, it actually affects the ball rotation, the ball flight as it goes through the air. So it, like, makes it like go side to side because like the center of mass is like different and it's just wavering and stuff. So that can actually
Oh,
affect like the kick. So I would actually rather first, laces at 12 o'clock, and then second, I would rather have sorry, I'd
you're
rather have
good.
the laces at 6 o'clock because even though I'd be kicking the laces, it's still like within like the straight line of rotation,
Yes.
so it won't make the ball go side to side. And then
Interesting.
having the ball at like 3 and 9 o'clock and anywhere in between, that's probably my least favorite.
I see. I always wondered why. Like, I remember the commentators when you watch a game will sometimes be like, "Oh, the snapper didn't put it like," and I'd be like, "Why the heck does it matter? You're kicking the same ball and it's angled the same way." I never realized about the center of gravity. That makes sense, or the center of mass.
Yeah, because the
Yeah,
laces on one side, like, do affect, sometimes, like, the rotation of, ball flight, especially, like, when there's wind and stuff, like, I don't know, there's probably a whole physics, science stuff you can.
they probably teach you that at Stanford.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. So what's been if you had to pick one moment, what's been the highlight moment of your career so far besides getting drafted?
I definitely have to go with the Colorado game last year where we were
Mhm.
29-0 down at halftime and
Yeah,
sorry.
you're good.
Where we were 29-0 down at halftime, and we came back to win the game in double overtime, 46 to 43. Game tying field goal at the end of regulation, and then a game winning field goal in double overtime. Those two moments were just unreal, and especially just for the team and the amount of emotion and excitement winning that football game against a good opponent at the time in the spotlight on Friday night in
Yeah,
front of the whole
yeah.
country. The plane ride home and like everything was just a lot of fun and definitely just a core memory forever.
Yeah, dude, that's great. Yeah. I mean, and like you said at the time, dude, Colorado was yeah, they were all over the news. They
Mhm.
were getting as much publicity as freaking Alabama and Ohio State. So, yeah, I remember that. And this is before I knew you, so it's cool talking to you now. Um, about that play. Yeah, I'm glad you guys beat them. By the way, someone
Uh,
needed to shut them up.
Thank you. I'm
Um,
glad too.
yeah. So I've always wondered how. Let's say you miss a kick in a game, right? It happens. Obviously, literally, even Justin Tucker misses kicks. How do you psych yourself back in so that you don't like have these nerves building up as you're sitting on the sideline, and then when you have to go take another kick, now you're just demoralized. Like, how do you fight that mental battle?
Yeah, I think I might have like a little bit of a different approach. Um, I would say it's easier to it's hard to suppress your emotions like that and just say shut down. I'm not nervous. Like there's no nerves. Blah blah blah. It's harder to do that than to go out for a kick and be like, even if I am nervous, even if I, you know, and shitting bricks, whatever, I still have the same odds to make this field goal that I'm about to kick as if I were sitting on top of the world, like making 100 in a row.
Yeah.
Every kick, I believe, is independent, and so no matter what state of mind I'm in or how I'm feeling, I believe that I have the same odds to make whatever kick I'm about to do as I would if I were feeling the exact opposite. So when I'm on the sideline, you know, when I've missed before, because I've missed in my career as well. Um, yeah, it does suck, and there's things that, you think about, and everyone, when you make a mistake, the number one thing is, "Okay, what can I do next time to fix that?" And so I'm a pretty analytical person, so I'm thinking more about, like, "Alright, what do I need to do in the next kick?" Or first of all, like, what went wrong, and then what do I need to do in the next kick to increase my odds of making it? And so at the end of the day, I'm just trying to give myself the best percentage chance to make the kick. And so, if that means focusing on my technique on these two or three things, then that's what's going to happen. And if I need to instead focus on something else because that's what went wrong on the past kick, then I focus on that as well. And so that's what I would believe would give me the best chance of making my next kick. But altogether,
Yeah.
I'm really just thinking like, when I get out there and I'm actually standing in my stance, like looking down, give my nod to the holder, in those 3 seconds, like no matter what I was thinking before, like what if this, what if that, or if I had missed one before and made one before, those 3 seconds, all I'm thinking about is really that kick and what I'm gonna do with my technique to give myself the best chance of making the field goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And so okay, so it's more it really does just come down to you can't at human nature, you can't forget that you missed it and you can't not be nervous. You're going to be nervous for every kick, but
Yeah, and I would say like
you
it's
just got to
almost a
lock
healthy
in.
thing. Like it's almost a healthy thing to be nervous. Like if you're not
Yeah.
nervous at all, then that's actually more concerning for me. If I go out there and I'm not nervous at all, then I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, shit." Like,
Yeah.
that's more of a problem than if I'm, like, really, really nervous. So I say it's definitely better to be nervous.
Yeah. Hey, that means you're human. That means you're alive. You got adrenaline.
Exactly.
Yeah, so maybe for a high school or a college kicker or even middle school that maybe has a problem with getting in their own head when they miss a kick, or maybe they're just struggling as a whole with consistency, what advice would you say to them?
Sorry, repeat that?
Yeah, so to a high school or a college kicker, or maybe even a middle school kicker that struggles with getting in their own head when they miss a kick, or they're just struggling with consistency, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I would say, first off, just the number one thing you can do, so those are like kind of two separate questions. Struggling with consistency, the number one thing you can do with that is just practice, 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 and practice the right habits instead of being outcome oriented. So I would say, you know, practice your technique basically, and really focus on every day you go out accomplishing one or two goals that you hope to accomplish with your technique. So if that's like, today I'm going to go out and I'm going to focus on staying tall every single kick and not crunching over. And, you go 15 out of 20, but you stayed tall in every kick, then that's a completely successful day as like,
Yeah.
a kid growing up. As opposed to if you go 19 out of 20, but you didn't work on anything and you didn't work on getting better at any specific, part of your technique. So I would say focus on the repeatable aspects of like the swing that you want to have in the off season as opposed to being outcome oriented. And then during the season, that should make you more consistent with
Yeah.
working on the same things through the season. And then the other part of the question about like getting rattled and stuff as like a younger kicker, definitely it does help over time, like having more experience being in the situations more often. Uh, you know, dealing with nerves and stuff like that. I would say, as a younger kicker, if something does go wrong, like just realize at the end of the day, like it's just a game that you play still, and you're playing because you love the sport and you're having a lot of fun. And yeah, everyone, even professionals, need to be reminded of that sometimes. Like, if you miss a kick, obviously there's a lot more fans, there's a lot more people watching in the NFL. But at the end of the day, it's still a game. It's still, you're doing a sport. You're playing a sport because you love it and because, you're also good at it. But, to be here at this level, you have to love the sport too and really dedicate a lot of your life to it. But at the end of the day, like there's still more to each person in the NFL than what you see on the field. So everyone has their own life. And
Yeah,
so for a younger high school kid, like, you know, you have your own life. Like you're not defined by 100% of the stuff that you do on the field.
exactly. Yeah, dude. Um, so when I ask you then, kind of on the topic, what was the darkest moment of your career, and how did you push forward through it? Does something come to mind? And like, is this kind of what you told yourself? Like, this doesn't define me.
Yeah, so I'd say my freshman year of football, so my sophomore year. Uh, so I went 10 for 15 that year, and it was just like super unlucky. I had, all my misses were 49 to 59 yards. A couple of them hit the poles. Uh, one was blocked, and the
Mm,
other two were just like really close to being made field goals. And so it was kind of a season of like, what if, like almost, got to that next level. Could have been like 14 out of 15, like super easily. Um, Even 15 out of 15. So
sure.
a lot of that, I was like, yeah, this season doesn't define me as a whole. And then getting into specifics, probably the UCLA game that year, where I went 1 for 3. I hit a 54-yarder off the pole. I made a 48, and then at the end, near the end of the game in the fourth quarter, um, we were down by 11, and I missed another 54 by like a foot or something like
Mm.
that. And it's not like the kicks were quality kicks; they just missed the target just by a little bit.
It's a
And
game of inches.
yeah, it's a game of inches. And I mean, 54 yarders are they're difficult kicks, even for prime NFL kickers. Every
Yeah.
kick, you can't take anything for granted. And so those two kicks, it's just like so close. I'm like, man, this does not define me. And so that's when I think about like a lot of motivation and stuff when I'm working out today and when I'm kicking and stuff is going back to like probably that game where you know it really did like that does not define me.
Yeah, 100%. So, moving forward for this season with the Rams, if what's your biggest goal for this season personally?
Yeah. So number one thing is help the team win a Super Bowl. But like personally, kickers seasons are defined, like with statistics normally. So
Like
I'd say
what's the like percentage range that you're going for? Like what is that goal? Yeah, obviously you can say 100, but like what
yeah,
would you
what would I be happy with?
yeah, like is it like
Probably
85 or
probably 90. So like you
90?
look at it compared to the league. Basically, you want to compare it to the league averages. So I think last year the league average was about 86 or
Okay.
so. And it's like over the last 10 or 15 years, it's slowly been wavering in the upwards direction. 15 years ago, it was like 78, probably 78%.
Wow.
If you were an 80% kicker, you're a good NFL kicker. Now, if you're 80% kicker, you're out of the league in a month. And so the
Cutthroat.
yeah, it's cutthroat. There's only 32 of us in the world, and everyone's getting better every year. And I hope to be part of that, positive change, uh, pushing the averages in the higher direction. But yeah, I would say it's basically so under 50 yards. I want to be basically, you know, 95%, and then
Yeah.
50 plus. You want to be 100%, you know,
I know.
basically
Yeah.
with everything. But and then 50 plus, if you're like 75%, that's pretty solid.
That's
Uh,
very good.
yeah, that's very good. And so then you'll average out to be what about 90% or something. And
Yeah.
so that's basically the goal. But it really is like the final field goal percentage is not really the truest statistic. It's more about like varied by distance because if you get a kicker who has uh what I'm not gonna like put names out there from like last year or something, but if you get a kicker who's like, you know, 15 attempts from 50 plus yards, and their field goal percentage is like a little bit lower than someone else who had, you know, 99% of their attempts from 40 yards and in. Like this, not you're not comparing apples to apples. So it's a lot more
Exactly.
about like each kick in its own, like, the distance mostly, but also like, conditions and stuff too, but mostly about distance.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So I'm gonna put you on the spot then. Um, so I have two scenarios. I'm curious as a kicker, which one you would prefer if you get to pick one for this upcoming season. All right. So scenario one, you're down 3 in the Super Bowl. There's 3 seconds left. There's a 40-yard kick. You nail it. You send the game to overtime. Right. So that kick, you get your team to OT in the Super Bowl. Or last game of the regular season, need a win. Like you win, you're in. You lose, you're out. You're down 1, and you nail a 55-yarder to get your team into the playoffs, a walk off. Which one are you taking?
Mm, that's tough. I think the second one would feel fantastic, but I'll probably
Yeah.
take the first one because
Okay.
that means like you got a 50-50 shot of winning a Super Bowl, and everything's like
If
that
you're
much
looking at it like that, yeah.
stage. So I would take the first one because you're in the Super Bowl, man. The second one is very appealing too, though. But
Yeah.
I think I gotta
I should
go
have said I should have said 60 yards for the second one.
60.
If it's
Maybe.
60, are you taking it?
Nah, I'm still going Super Bowl. If you said like
Okay.
67, then I'll probably
That's crazy.
take. If it's like NFL record, then yeah, I would take that.
I mean,
But
yeah, then you have to.
I just the Super Bowl stage. I mean, you gotta think also like if you're kicking at that Super Bowl, it means you already played the whole playoffs and
Well.
stuff.
Mhm.
Done well personally and as a team. And like, if you perform like that at the Super Bowl stage, that's about as, marquee of a moment that you'll ever get to prove yourself in. Um, and so that would be really, really cool, obviously.
Heck yeah. So we'll close on this. What piece of advice would you have to any kid out there aspiring to be an NFL player?
Um, you know, work hard. It's pretty stereotypical, but just, work hard. Um, compare yourself against not like those around you, your peers and stuff, but like the best that you want to be. So like for you, if you're a kicker, like don't compare yourself against other high school kickers, compare yourself against like NFL kicker, because that's the standard that you need to get to one day. So whatever position, whatever sport you are, like, compare yourself against the highest at those levels, like that you want to eventually reach that level. And so that'll help you work a lot harder and, give you feedback of like, yeah, that is not acceptable, or you know what, that was acceptable. And so raise your standards a lot more.
Yeah, I like that. I've never even thought about that. That makes sense. Um, yeah, dude. Well, I had a great time talking to you. It was really nice to finally get to talk to a kicker. Considering like I played soccer my whole life, so I've been looking forward to this. I hope you enjoyed coming on the channel, getting to talk a little bit of ball life. Um, yeah, and for those of you guys that are watching, this is a little different. Got to see a different perspective of NFL players. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And yeah, just stay tuned for the next video.